Hey everybody, it's Brooke with The Buttered Home and welcome to my messy kitchen. Today we're going to be sharing with you a good scratch-made recipe, one of the recipes that The Buttered Home was founded on, and that's how to make your very own pie crust. And y'all, you only need 4 ingredients, and chances are you have them in your pantry already. So let's get started. Okay, so to a stand mixer or a really good heavy-duty hand mixer, you're going to want to add in 1.5 cups of plain flour. And then we're going to add in just a pinch of salt. That probably equates to somewhere between an 1/8 and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, I'm going to be putting in some cold butter to this, and one of my little tips and tricks that I like to share with people is to just lightly spray your grater. And then I always, when I need 1.5 cups of butter, I always trim off more than what I need. So we're going, because invariably you're going to have a nub left because you want to be careful doing this. So I take my wrapper and put it around the bottom, and then just start to grate the butter, making sure I don't get any of that butter paper in there. And you're going to want to move it and work pretty quickly. And eventually, whenever it gets down to a nub, I simply just take the butter paper off and set that little nub aside. Now we want to do the same thing with the full stick of butter. And if it's going to be a few minutes before you use this butter, I always like to do it on a paper plate so that I can just pop it in the refrigerator so that the butter stays cold. So if you are a prepper and like to do this kind of thing ahead of time, you can certainly grate your butter, or you can cube it. I mean, I don't need to fail to mention that. There's no right way or no wrong way. This just tends to get the butter in smaller pieces so that it distributes through the dough just a little bit better. All right, so let's get that last little bit of butter in there. And this is the recipe that I use for all of my pies. It's super simple, it is easy, and you can do it ahead of time. So I've got all that grated butter, and now I'm going to carefully add it in with the flour and the salt. Because you don't want to handle it too much. You want to make sure that it stays cold once we mix it all together. All right, let me just move these from the side. Okay, because my mixer's kind of loud, we're going to mix this up and then we'll come back and show you the finished product, so stay with us. Okay, so we have added our butter in, and I'll just take this off so you can see it a little bit better. And you've got a really mealy texture, so that butter has been incorporated very well in there and mixed throughout the flour. So the next thing we want to do is we want to take 1/3 cup of ice water. So I have filled my measuring cup up with just a little bit below 1/3 cup of water, because ice melts, right? But don't worry, if you put too much in there, you can recover. All it does is just make the dough a little sticky. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn our mixer on low and drizzle this 1/3 cup of ice water in to mix everything up until it forms a dough ball and pulls away from the sides of the mixing bowl. So stay with us. And don't drop your ice. Ha! That didn't take long at all, did it? So one of the things that you'll look for is you will look for it to pull completely away from the sides of the bowl as such and form a ball. Now, don't mix it much beyond that. It's just like a pie, a cake, in the sense that you don't want to over mix it because we have to allow this to rest at this point. So I'm going to get just a little bit of bench flour and sprinkle it here, and that just keeps the dough from sticking to the surface and sticking to my hand. We're going to get that out of there, and then I'm just going to kind of roll it around in that dough, and I added a little bit extra water into mine. It's been kind of dry here, so sometimes it takes a little bit more than 1/3 of a cup, and that's fine. All that will happen is it'll be a little sticky, just like it did with me. It will not prevent you from having a good pie crust. Okay, so now I just form that into a disc and press it out. Then I get some plastic wrap, which I've already got torn back here in the back. Place it over the top and tuck it in the sides, pick it up, and then you have a beautiful little packet of a pie crust. So let's talk chilling time. This needs to go in the refrigerator, okay? At least an hour minimum. I like to do these ahead of time and put them in there overnight. They're really better that way because the butter has time to really kind of infuse the flavor of itself into the flour. But if you've got an hour, that's fine too. Just chill it for about an hour. At this point, you can also take it and double wrap it and then put it in a freezer safe container or a freezer bag and freeze this for up to a month. So if you're trying to get ahead before the holidays, that's a good move. If you've got 30 minutes in the afternoons, one Sunday afternoon, I do this a lot. Just mix up your pie crust and then you can freeze them in discs just like this. You would just take them out a few days before you need them and let them thaw in the refrigerator or on the counter if you're going to use it immediately, and then roll it out and go to town. So we're going to let this chill for probably about an hour, and then we'll come back and show you how pretty of a pie crust this makes. So stay with us. Hey everybody, it's Brooke with the Buttered Home, and we are back. We have finished a little over an hour chill time, and our dough is set up all nice. Now let's take a look and let me roll it out and show you how perfect it is. So we talked a little bit about freezing it before, and you can totally do that. You just want to let it thaw on the kitchen counter the day you want to use it, or you can place it in the refrigerator overnight and let it thaw in the refrigerator. But whenever you get ready to use it, or if you use it fresh after that 1 to 2 hour chill time, just remove it from the plastic wrap and then put a little bench flour down. And when I say bench flour, I just mean plain flour. So then we just lightly dust the top, turn it over, remove some of that excess, make sure we got plenty of bench flour here, so when we roll it out, it doesn't stick to our board. So you'll notice that it has stiffened up, and that's good. That's what we want. Yes, it does make it a little harder to work with, but if you'll just be patient with it, and you'll see me turn mine a good bit. And this recipe makes enough for 1 pie crust. So it's easily doubled if you need a top and a bottom crust. Now I'm gonna carefully turn it over, or you can work it around if you need to. And just a little bit more bench flour. Now it freezes really well But another way that you can freeze it is you can go ahead after you've chilled it, and you can, and I'll show you, you can roll it up like you're going to place it over the pie plate. And then you can just freeze it in a roll, kind of like they come from the grocery store. You know how they'll come in a roll from the grocery store. But anyway, here's the thing. When you roll out your pie crust, you don't have to have this perfect round deal going on. Just get it a little larger than your pie pan. And how you can measure that is the pie pan that you want to use, just take it and flip it over and put it down on the top. If you have at least 1 to 2 inches excess there, then you're fine. So then you can take it up and roll it over the rolling pin, just like this. And then you can just release it on top of your pie plate, get it situated, press it down, and you can trim your edges, or you can just simply buffer them, just however you want to do it. But one of the things that I like to do is I like to take the pie crust and just, let me take it out of here. Because like this guy, he's going in the freezer because I don't need him anytime soon. So I'll just take it and carefully just roll it up like a jelly roll. And then I'll just get that same plastic wrap, waste not, want not, and pop it in there and wrap it up really well. Roll it over, seal the edges, and then I'll place this in a Ziploc bag, a freezer bag, and it will go into the freezer and it will last a month. There you go. Easy. 4 ingredients. Really, your mixer does all of the work. And if you grate that butter, there's no question that you have the butter distributed throughout everywhere you need it in the pie crust. And I use store-bought pie crust. There's nothing wrong with it. But this is so much better. It just really is. And we talk a lot about legacies of cooking. Things like pie crust are getting lost. Nobody does it anymore. They rely on convenience items. So this is a very good thing to teach your kids and your grandkids so that you can pass on a skill and a legacy. And that's what the Buttered Home was founded on. And we sure appreciate all of you joining us to do that. Now, let me know if you make your own pie crust. I want to hear all about it. This recipe can be found over at thebutteredhome.com. Just like all of our recipes, it's easily doubled, and you can print this guy out and keep it for yourself in a handy place like your recipe box. Also, if you're not already, make sure you're following us on all of our social channels. We have a really good time, and we want you here with us for everywhere that we are. And as always, if you want all of our videos in one convenient place, head over to YouTube, search for The Buttered Home, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified when we drop new videos like this one. Okay, got to get him prepped and in the freezer. Time to use him. We'll be here before you know it. Y'all, we look forward to next time, and from The Buttered Home to your home, we sure love y'all. Bye.